أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل الحمد لله وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. الله خير أما يشركون. أمن خلق السماوات والأرض وأنزل لكم من السماء ماء فأنبتنا به حدائق ذات بهجة ما كان لكم أن تنبتوا شجرها أإله مع الله بل هم قوم يعدلون. أمن جعل الأرض قرارا وجعل خلالها أنهارا وجعل لها رواسي وجعل بين البحرين حاجزا أإله مع الله بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء ويجعلكم خلفاء الأرض أإله مع الله قليلا ما تذكرون. أمن يهديكم في ظلمات البر والبحر ومن يرسل الرياح بشرا بين يدي رحمته أإله مع الله تعالى الله عما يشركون. أمن يبدأ الخلق ثم يعيده ومن يرزقكم من السماء والأرض أإله مع الله قل هاتوا برهانكم إن كنتم صادقين. قل لا يعلم من في السماوات والأرض الغيب إلا الله وما يشعرون أيان يبعثون. بل ادارك علمهم في الآخرة بل هم في شك منها بل هم منها عمون. صدق الله العظيم.
Inshallah, just before Hazrat speaks, it's our honor and privilege to have our Ustad, our Sheikh, in our presence. And just to give a little introduction of who Hazrat Mufti Saeed Sahib is, inshallah, I'll call one of his students, and his student has traveled a number of times, not just to South Africa to take benefit from him, but even 2 years ago when he found out that there was a person like our Sheikh, honored Sheikh, in our presence, he came all the way from LA, California, just to be in his company. And again, once again, he's here with us. And he's done so much work, traveling all over. And then he's got so much experience in terms of, the kosher industry, the halal industry. When you talk about Australia, to Malaysia, to different places. Very, very hardworking person. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has really blessed him and accepted him. And mashallah, he's doing great khidmat of deen and service of deen around, especially in LA and across North America. So he's before us. So I asked him, Mufti Abdullah Nana, I'm sure you may have heard of his name. He's also very popular in finance department too. So I will call him if he can introduce our honorable Sheikh, Mufti Saeed Sahib.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah bil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala nabil kareem wa ala alihi sahbihi ajma'in. Wa ba'd. listening to the commands of our elders, who in this case is your respected Imam, Mufti Qureshi, with the intention of us appreciating the speaker and benefiting from the speaker and knowing the caliber and knowing the level of knowledge of our speaker, inshallah, I wish to mention a few words about my respected Ustad, Mufti Saeed Motara Sahab, Damat Barakatuhum. Keep in mind that the purpose of introduction, it's not just for information's sake, but it's for us to know who the speaker is so that we can truly benefit from them and realize their value. This was something which was found also in the practice of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. For example, Uthman radiallahu anhu, when the rebels were laying siege on him and when they were trying to attack him, he spoke of his virtues and he got up and he said, "Do you know who I am?" Not with intention of showing off, but just so they recognize who they're dealing with. So what I wish to say is, truly, I think all of us sitting here should realize what a great opportunity we have. That we have one of the most senior English-speaking ulama in the world, sitting in front of us right now, specializing in the field of fiqh, who's been teaching for over 30 years, who's been teaching very high-level books, something which we can also compare to the level of a Shaykh al-Hadith, someone who's teaching books like Sahih Muslim, books like Abu Dawood, books like Hidayah, and very advanced books in the Alim course. And something which we should also realize is the value of experience. Right? With all due honesty, sitting in front of you, I'm a person who's wet behind my ears. Right? I'm still learning about different things. Even as a scholar, sometimes I'm learning from my own mistakes. Experience makes a difference. And when you have a person when you compare a person who's just recently graduated to someone who's taught for 35 years, who's answered hundreds of fatwas over 35 years, you're talking about a world difference. It's like, you guys have it here as well, it's like the minor league versus the majors. That's what it is. So my point is, especially this is a youth program here, this is a good opportunity for us. We'll listen to lecture in the English language, and we have opportunity to benefit from one of the most senior scholars of South Africa and one of the most senior English-speaking muftis in the world today. One of the most senior English-speaking muftis in the world today, who has a lot of experience dealing with different situations and different issues. And it's an opportunity for us to enhance our knowledge and to learn from the Shaykh's experience and learn from Mufti Sahib's experience. And just to give you a background, Mufti Sahib himself, he graduated from Darul Dabel. Thereafter, he went to Deoband. He finished his Ifta course there. He spent a lot of time with one of the great muftis of India, which can be said the Grand Mufti of India, Mufti Mahmud al-Hasan. He spent many Ramadans with him and many trips with him as well. He himself has learned from many senior scholars, including Mullah Ahmed Khanpuri Sahib, Mufti Ahmed Khanpuri Sahib. And we ourselves have seen for the last few days how Mufti Sahib, despite the fact that he's been teaching for 30 years, more than 30 years, despite the fact that he himself is a very senior scholar, we have seen with our own eyes how he respects his ustad, lowers himself for his ustad, and humbles himself in front of his teacher. So this is also a lesson for us as well. No matter how high a person reaches, humility and respect to one's teacher is always necessary. Mufti Sahib has, as I mentioned, he's been teaching in Darul Mazadville since its inception for over 30 years. And he's one of the senior teachers also in Darul Mazadville. And he is one of the Khalifas of Mufti Mahmud al-Hasan as well. So he also has a spiritual background as well as ilmi background as well. So without further ado, inshallah, I humbly request all of us realize the value of your speaker who's sitting in front of you and take maximum benefit, inshallah, and do your best also to, inshallah, implement what the advices he will give, inshallah.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي كفى وسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى أما بعد فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم. Muazzaz ulama kiram, brothers, elders, and especially my beloved youth that have taken out the time, valuable time to sit here in order to listen to talks of deen, to listen what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires of us, and how Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has practically taught us how to fulfill the commandments of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has taught us with practical example, practical implementation. We are most fortunate to be blessed with such a beautiful deen like Deenul Islam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made us see this auspicious, valuable month that has gone by, the month of Ramadan. The beauty, the atmosphere of the month of Ramadan is something that we all miss. But like they say, all good things must come to an end. Life has to go on, life has to progress. So just as the month of Ramadan came to a close, there will be a time when the life that we have in this world will also come to a close. We will have to leave this world, face our Rabb, face our Creator. But the life that Allah Ta'ala has given us, that we are spending in this world, in this temporary world, in truth, it is a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a bounty that within it has numerous other bounties, many, many favors of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we fail to take cognizance of. If we truly reflect and ponder, we will realize that we cannot in truth enumerate and evaluate and truly appreciate the great bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The very fact that Allah ta'ala granted us an existence in this world, in this universe, that itself is a bounty. If Allah ta'ala had wished, He could have left us in a state of non-existence, in a state of limbo, but Allah ta'ala granted us existence. This itself is a favor, a blessing. Together with that, Allah ta'ala, after granting us existence, He could have made us into a lifeless creation, lifeless object, like a boulder on the top of a mountain, a pebble on the beach, a grain of sand. But Allah Ta'ala was so kind and merciful that Allah Ta'ala made us living and breathing creatures. Allah Ta'ala instilled the life into us. After granting us existence, He gave us life where we can live and breathe and enjoy the beautiful nature around us, the world that Allah Ta'ala has created around us. This itself is a bounty. But of course, there are many other living, breathing creatures in the world, animals that we see around us, whether they may be animals that benefit us, whether it be animals that harm us, like scorpions, snakes, and others. These are also living and breathing creatures. But they have not been given that status, that intellect, which Allah Ta'ala has bestowed on the ashraful makhluqat, on the human species. So this is a further bounty. Allah Ta'ala could have created us as a scorpion, that people, when looking at that scorpion, would run for a stick, run for a weapon, to crush it, to destroy it. We could have been created as snakes that people would flee from, run away from. But no, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was so kind and merciful that He created us amongst the ashraful makhluqat, the most noble amongst the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, created us as a human species. When creating us as humans, Allah ta'ala granted us various phases, stages of our life. Allah ta'ala granted us infancy, then we made progress towards childhood, then we came into our formative years, into the youthful phase of our years, of our life, that exuberant youth where we have strength, vigor, strength, health, and we look forward and we have many ambitions. This itself is a great bounty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the health, strength, youth given to us. But of course that youth also has to come to an end. We go into old age, and Allah ta'ala, those whom Allah ta'ala guides, they utilize that youth fruitfully, so that that can hold them in good stead in their elderly years, and when they become older, they come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, knowing well that they have utilized the youth to their full potential, and now comes a stage when they look forward towards meeting their Creator, which Allah Ta'ala's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in a hadith, that man ahabba liqa Allahi ahabba Allahu liqa'ahu, that the person who looks forward to meeting his Creator, Allah Ta'ala looks forward to meeting him. So that can only be possible if a person utilizes bounty of life, of his youth, the formative years of his life, and later his elderly life, in the ibadat, in the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in fulfilling the purpose of his creation. Then he looks forward to meeting his Creator. Al-mawtu jasrun yusilu al-habib il-habib. That his condition reaches a stage where death becomes a bridge for him that joins the lover to the beloved, that joins the creation to the Creator. So this itself is a bounty, Allah Ta'ala granting us that status of Ashraful Makhluqat, the most noble of the creation of Allah Ta'ala. But Allah Ta'ala went a step further. Allah Ta'ala created us as Muslims, most of us born into Muslim homes. And those of us perhaps not born into Muslim homes, Allah Ta'ala guided such people towards the truth, towards the haqq, and granted them the blessing of this great wealth and asset of Iman. This without our making a true effort, without our asking this, Allah Ta'ala made us born into Muslim homes. Allah Ta'ala guided us towards the truth. This itself is a bounty. And not only did Allah Ta'ala stop there, Allah Ta'ala went a step further and made us amongst the ummatis of the most noblest of His Anbiya alayhi salatu wasalam, the greatest of His Anbiya. We were made the ummati of Rasul Kareem sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the greatest of the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most superior of all the Nabis, all the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This itself is a great bounty bestowed upon us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all these bounties are there to be appreciated, to use them to their full potential in order to earn the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in order not to earn the wrath and the displeasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is where all these resources, where all these bounties ought to be utilized, so that we can capitalize, we can sow in this world and reap profitably in the year after. That will only come about if we appreciate these bounties and utilize these bounties for the purpose that Allah Ta'ala has created them. But unfortunately today, we do not realize the potential of these bounties. We do not tap the resources of these bounties, with the result that when we reach old age, we reflect, we go into a retrospective mode and begin to regret that why did we waste our youth? Why did we waste those years of our life when we had strength, health, we had life, we had vigor, we had the energy? But now when the one leg, one foot is dangling in the qabr, now we begin to regret and we begin to cry tears of blood. While we have that energy, while we have the youth, we should utilize it to its full potential. In the hadith, Rasulullah Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam warns that ni'matan maghbunun fihima kathirun min al-nas, as-sihhatu wal-faragh, that there are two bounties with regard to which most of mankind is at loss. Mankind does not utilize these bounties to their full potential. What are these two bounties? As-sihhatu wal-faragh, good health, energy, and spare time, free time. In our young age, in our youthful phase of our lives, we all have that good health, we have that strength, we have that energy, but unfortunately, we do not utilize it to accumulate good deeds and to deposit for the akhirat. Not realizing that the clock is ticking away. With every tick and with every tock of the clock, our life is trickling away. We are drawing closer to our destination of the akhirat. We are coming closer to the qabr. But yet we are living in a world of oblivion, negligent of the purpose of our creation, negligent not to appreciate these bounties of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We should understand that Allah ta'ala has connected two elements with every human being's life. One is the element of place, and the other is the element of time. As far as the element of place is concerned, this has such a connection with man's life that it can remain constant. It does not need to change all the time. For example, we are seated here in the house of Allah, in the masjid. We remain seated here for the next hour or so, then the place remains constant. We are not changing the place, we are within the masjid, within the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it is a good idea whenever we come to the masjid to formulate the niyat of i'tikaf. In our minds we can formulate the niyat intention now, that oh Allah, as long as I am sitting in this masjid, I am in a state of i'tikaf. We will get the reward of i'tikaf gratis, free of charge. But nevertheless, this element of place is such that can remain constant. It will only change if we get up from the masjid, take a walk out to the masjid, we get into our motor vehicle. As the motor car moves, we are changing place, moving from one location to another location. If we travel by train, we are also changing place from one to the next. We travel by plane, we go from one country to the next. But until we do not make this effort and this attempt, that place can remain constant for hours, for days, for weeks, for months, and for years as well. Whereas the second element connected to our lives, the element of time, that is something that ticks away. It is trickling away all the time. Something we cannot stop. Something we cannot cause to become stagnant. As we are sitting here, the minutes that are ticking away, the seconds that are ticking away, this is draining out the lifespan that Allah Ta'ala has granted to us. This is not a gain, it is a loss. We are losing our lives. Sitting here, we are gaining, we are benefiting, listening to talks of Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But we sit in one corner without doing anything beneficial, sitting totally idle, then obviously the clock is ticking away, our life is draining away, with the result that we are at a loss, not at a gain. Man's thinking today, unfortunately, is totally warped and crooked. What should be a loss, we perceive to be a gain. Let us look for a little while in our homes, our children. When our children attain the age of 5, like Western society, like monkeys aping and a culture that is alien to Islam, we celebrate the birthday, that is 5 years old. When the child becomes 10 years old, we celebrate a birthday. In fact, every year we tend to celebrate. When the child reaches the age of 20, 21, that is the 21st anniversary, something to celebrate with very much pomp, with very much vigor, announcing it, publicizing it, inviting a great amount of people, regarding that a moment of celebration. But if we ponder, it is something to cry over, it is something to regret. If Allah Ta'ala has given man a lifespan of 60 years, 20 years of his life has lapsed. He has lost 20 years. He has not gained 20 years. What is there to celebrate? It is something to reflect over, something to grieve over, that we have wasted and pushed down the drain 20 valuable years of our life, our exuberant youth, wasted it behind futile pursuits, behind something that is of no benefit in the akhirah. This is a loss, it is not a gain. But unfortunately today, for us to understand, we have to provide an example which is easier to understand. We are living in a material world. We have to provide an example of that nature to understand and appreciate these bounties. If a person owns $60,000, he goes out to the marketplace or to the bank to deposit that money. On the way, let us say there is a hole in his pocket, or there may not be a hole in his pocket. There are thieves, pickpockets lurking in the marketplaces, and 20,000 of that $60,000 are lost. When he reaches the bank, he realizes that $20,000 have fallen off somewhere, have been stolen from me. he will not view that as a gain. It will not be something to celebrate. It will be something to mourn, something to be sorrowful about. But because we attach value to material assets, that we perceive to be a loss, but something that is connected to our spiritual lives, that every year that is ticking away was a ticking of the clock. That is not a gain. It is not something to celebrate. It is something for us to reflect over, something for us to express grief over, that we have wasted the formative phase of our life. Our youth has been washed down the drain. 20 years of our life, we have not utilized it for the benefit of our akhirat, to deposit for the akhirat. So this is not a gain, it is a loss. But today, because our iman and yaqeen is so weak, we do not perceive this as a loss. In the hadith, we just came through the month of Ramadan. Rasulullah Kareem Sallallahu explains about the month of Ramadan amongst the virtues. Man taqarraba bi khaslatin fihi kana kaman adda faridatan fima siwa wa man adda faridatan fihi kana kaman adda sab'ina faridatan fima siwa. Aw kama qala alayhi salatu wasalam. That the person who carries out a nafal optional ibadat and act in the month of Ramadan, he gets the reward of carrying out a fard act outside the month of Ramadan. And if he carries out a fard act in the month of Ramadan, our fard namaz, we get the reward multiplied 70 times. 70 times the reward of salah, as if having performed 70 fard out of the month of Ramadan, we get that amount of value for one salah, first salah in the month of Ramadan. But because we attach more importance to material assets, we fail to appreciate this. We fail to appreciate the month of Ramadan and take benefit. Today, if someone has to announce that a certain professor, a certain boffin, a certain scientist has invented a certain machine where if you feed a $1 note from the one end, it produces and yields $70 from the other end. We will see a huge queue lining up there. Each person wanting to feed his $1 so that he can benefit and accrue with $70 on the other side. But yet, what Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has told us, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ, he does not speak of his own whims and desires. He speaks with divine instruction from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The words of Allah ta'ala conveyed by the lips of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, we fail to attach value and importance to that. We do not have so much yaqeen and conviction in that as we will have conviction in this rumor that a certain boffin scientist has invented a machine of this nature. Even though we make fools of ourselves by going to that place, going to that part of the marketplace and realizing this was all a hoax, it was all a total joke. But because we attach value to material assets, we will appreciate that, but we do not appreciate the bounties granted to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this time is such, it ticks away. When our legs begin dangling in the qabr, in the grave, we do not have the energy to stand and perform salah. We do not have the resources and the health to keep our fast. We do not have the ability to go out and participate in the battlefield. We do not have the energy to go out in the path of Allah. Then we begin to regret that if only, but it is too late to say if only. When Allah Ta'ala granted us that opportunity, that youth, that health and that energy, that was a time to deposit. Now when we become ill, we can no longer perform our salah standing. We perform the salah sitting. We cannot perhaps even walk to the masjid. We have to perform the salah at home. Because of that invalidity, in our inability, Allah Ta'ala will still grant us a full reward of performing salah standing in the masjid, was jamaat, if that was our habit in our youth, in our days of energy, in the days of vigor. Such is the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So as the clock ticks away, we come closer to our grave. And no one can hold that death back. When the death knell sounds, it is time to go and meet our Creator. Every other appointment we make in this world, sometimes, for instance, you have an appointment with a medical doctor, there is a possibility that you are a few minutes in his practice, in his surgery, before the doctor. Or perhaps he is a few minutes before us and we turn up there late. It is flexible. But as far as the appointment was, our death is concerned, what the angel of death is concerned, split second timing, pinpoint accuracy, not a second behind, not a second forward. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ لَا يَسْتَأْخِرُونَ سَاعَةً وَلَا يَسْتَقْدِمُونَ. When the appointed hour comes, we cannot pull it back for a moment, we cannot stretch it forward for a moment. Time is up, we have to leave the world. And it is too late then to ask for respite. Allah Ta'ala says in the Quran, وَأَنْفِقُوا مِمَّا رَزَقْنَاكُمْ مِنْ قَبْلِ أَنْ يَأْتِيَ أَحَدَكُمُ الْمَوْتِ فَيَقُولَ رَبِّ لَوْلَا أَخَّرْتَنِي إِلَى أَجَلٍ قَرِيبٍ. They spend in the path of Allah. Allah has provided for you. We see other nations in this world who are not even on the path of haqq. They donate to their communities up to 10 to 20% of the earnings for the enhancement, for the furtherance of their false religions. Allah Ta'ala merely asks 2.5% of our surplus earnings as zakat, yet we find that difficult to spend. And who has provided that? Allah has provided. If we spend from Allah Ta'ala's provision, Allah will replace that with the same amount, in fact with something better. The hadith tells us, مَا نَقَصَتْ صَدَقَةٌ مِّن مَّالٍ, that when a person spends in charity, it does not decrease his wealth, it increases his wealth. As far as quantity is concerned, you may have given $250 out of 10,000. You are left with $9,750. But that will go and take you further than what the $10,000 would have taken you. Allah will put more barakah, more blessings in that. In that sense, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says, charity does not decrease one's wealth, it increases a person's wealth. But we are unable to appreciate that. So the Quran says, spend from that which we have provided for you. Before death overtakes you, and at that last moment, you ask for respite, that if only Allah Ta'ala had granted me a few hours more, then I would have done righteous deeds. But it is too late now. Now you have spent up your entire life. The entire capital of your life has been wasted down the drain. Too late to ask for respite. One cannot tell Malakul Maut that even if it is my appointed time, you take my neighbor and leave my soul, I shall post it to you. This is not possible. When time is up, a person has to go. حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا. That when death will come to such disobedient people, and then they will plead with the malaika that return us to the world so that we can do righteous deeds. Allah Ta'ala says, alas, it is too late for that. This can never be possible. In the old days, Malakul Maut, the angel of death, used to appear in human form to extract the souls of people. On one occasion, Malakul Maut came to a certain gentleman, time for him to meet his Creator. When Malakul Maut announced his arrival, and the man realized to his horror, it is time to leave the world, he begins to rebuke Malakul Maut and reproach Malakul Maut. That what type of a creation are you? That you come unannounced, you do not even give me any notification that you are about to come to extract my soul. So Malakul Maut says to him, that I gave you so many notices, that for no other event do you get so many notices one after the other consecutively. The man asks, what notices? Malakul Maut replies, when you looked into the mirror and you saw the hairs of your beard turning gray, the hairs of your head turning gray, was that not notification that your time to meet your Creator is drawing close? When you began to feel those aches and pains in your limbs, when you began to feel your energy sapping, was that not a notification that the time of your death, the hour of your death is approaching? When you saw and perceived your eyesight failing, you can no longer hear correctly, your sense of hearing is failing, Was that not also a notification that death is about to approach you? Just to digress for a while, with regard to hearing that fails a person as he draws towards old age. They say a person hard of hearing, when he listens to a joke, he laughs twice. So that is also embarrassing. What is the reason? If someone addressing an audience has to maybe make a joke, the audience laughs, he sees everyone's teeth flashing, he could not hear what the speaker has spoken, but he merely laughs because everyone else is laughing. Then he asks his neighbor that what was a joke? And the joker, the neighbor tells him in his ear, this was a joke. When everyone else is silent, now he laughs out aloud. So he laughs out twice, embarrassing himself. That is a state of failing hearing. Was that not sufficient notification that death is about to approach you? When you began to lose the teeth in your mouth, teeth were falling out. Was this not sufficient notification that the hour of death is approaching? On this too, as far as the teeth are concerned, many sunnahs of Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam we tend to neglect. Looking after our teeth, Islam has taught us this hygiene. Today, unfortunately, a noble sunnah like the miswak today we are discarding. Yes, by all means use your toothpaste, use your toothbrush. But together with that, especially at the time of wudu, implement this noble sunnah of Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Mullah Ali Qari rahmatullah alayhi, the commentator of the hadith book of Mishkat, in Mirqat he writes that there are more than 70 benefits of using and utilizing the miswak. And he says, Adnaha tadhakkuru shahadati inda al-maut. The least of these benefits is that the person will remember to recite the kalima at the time of death. This is regarded as the least of the benefits. Yet it is such a noble and high supreme benefit that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam says in the hadith, Man kana akhiru kalamihi la ilaha illallah, dakhala al-jannah. The person who leaves the world with a kalima emanating from his lips, he will inshallah enter Jannat. Yet this is the least of benefits. Such a noble sunnah of Rasulullah Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Mullah Ali Qari goes on to warn that the harms of opium, the harms of drugs, the harms of these abusive substance abuse, he says it has more than 70 harms. And he says, Adanaha nisyanu shahadati inda al-maut. The least of the harms is that you will forget to recite the kalima at the time of death. So Islam has taught us hygiene. Many sunnahs, beautiful sunnahs taught to us by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we tend to neglect them. Many couples complain. We now, Darul Iftah, we have all these cases coming, where apparently there is no more compatibility between the husband and wife. They are at each other's throats. They do not want to see each other. What is the reason for this? First of all, when a young couple gets married, they ought to also read our books, understand the rights of each other, so that the rights can be fulfilled. And a marriage can only be successful if the husband concerns himself more about fulfilling his wife's rights rather than acquiring and demanding his own rights. Similarly, the wife should concern herself with fulfilling her husband's rights rather than being worried of whether my rights are being trampled upon or not being fulfilled. In this way, if each spouse will play his and her role, there will be harmonious and there will be, inshallah, smooth married life. A simple sunnah given by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam says there are various forms of sadaqah, charity. Amongst them, Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions, أن تجعل اللقمة في امرأتك أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, that you put a morsel of food into the mouth of your spouse. That also is a sunnah taught to us by Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam to develop and create love between the couple. But we find it too difficult to pick up a morsel of food and put it into the mouth of our wife. This has been considered an act of charity, an act of reward in the hadith. Yet we fail to implement these type of hadiths and these type of sunnahs, we tend to see, unfortunately, more benefit in what Western culture teaches us, rather than the benefits taught to us by Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam. On a lighter note, somewhere in India, there was a restaurant in Bombay where the waiter serving food, he noticed a very old couple sitting right in the corner at a table, maybe over 80 years old. They had ordered a meal, they were partaking of the meal, and the waiter noticed from a distance what appeared to him, that the elderly gentleman, the old man, was putting a morsel of food in his wife's mouth. After a little while, she puts a morsel of food in his mouth. So he admired this, and he stood and stared for a little while. When they had completed their meal, he went up to them, congratulated them, that Alhamdulillah, today Sunnah of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has been kept alive. Inshallah, you will gain the virtue. Mention the hadith, that man ahya sunnati inda fasadi ummati, when a person revives and brings alive a sunnat of Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the age, this age of corruption and rot, then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives a virtue, such a person will get the reward of martyrs. So we went to congratulate them. So they became upset and offended, that what are you talking about? We were not implementing any sunnah. The fact of the matter is that we are already over the age of 80. We have both lost our original teeth, and we are so poor we cannot afford a set of false teeth for each of us. We have one set of teeth that we share between us. What we actually saw is ours placing the set of false teeth into her mouth so that she can chew for a little while. And then she places a set of false teeth into my mouth so that I can chew for a little while. So this is a condition. Someone once asked in Urdu or in Gujarati, कि पता नहीं झूठे दांतों से सच भी बोल सकते हैं कि नहीं. Can a person speak the truth also with false teeth? Of course he can speak the truth. But nevertheless, so maut and death gives us notification. We have to prepare for that death. All these are notices. It is unlike the market strategies and the marketing ploys of people that tend to hang on to this world, do not want to leave this world. At one place I once saw a notice where there was a board, a blackboard on both sides, and the notice was placed on the pavement. What was written on this side of the notice? The words were inscribed, written there with chalk, that if you notice this notice, you will notice that there is nothing to notice on this side of the notice. But what there is to notice is on the other side of this notice. So I took a walk on the other side, and I saw written in big letters, watch this space. Watch this space. So I thought, let me come the next day to see, maybe they have some promotion, something for sale, something at a very reduced cost. When I came back, the same thing. So this was a marketing strategy. Customers would come and very eagerly read that notice, and because they are standing in front of that store, they would pop into the store and buy an item and not leave from there empty-handed. Eventually, whatever promotion they wished to have, after a few weeks, they had something written where they had washed the space. So similarly, Maut is telling us also, watch this space. That your hairs have turned gray, your bones and limbs are aching, your cartilage is wearing out, you are losing your teeth, your hearing is failing, your eyesight is failing. Is it perhaps not time? أَلَمْ يَأْنِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا أَن تَخْشَعَ قُلُوبُهُمْ لِذِكْرِ اللَّهِ وَمَا نَزَلَ مِنَ الْحَقِّ. Is it not time for people to open their eyes? Is it not time for people that truly have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or that want to imbue themselves with the fear of Allah? Is it not time for such believers to inculcate true belief or true fear into their hearts, and to practice upon that which has been revealed unto them, practice upon the laws of Sharia? How long? ما هذه التكاسل ما هذه التغافل. How long will we remain oblivious of the purpose of our creation? How long will we remain in that slumber? It is time for us to wake up. The wake-up call is being given to us by Malakul Maut, even though it does not appear in human form. The changes in our life, the energy that is being sapped, that is a reminder that our death is very, very close. We have to prepare for that. This world Allah Ta'ala has created as a distraction. وَمَا هَذِي الْحَيَاةُ الدُّنْيَا إِلَّا لَهْوُ وَالْعِبَ. This world is a place of amusement, meaning it is a distraction. Allah Ta'ala has created these amusements, entertainment around us to test us. إِنَّا جَعَلْنَا مَا عَلَى الْأَرْضِ زِينَةً لَهَا لِنَبْلُوَهُمْ أَيُّهُمْ أَحْسَنُ عَمَلًا. That we have created whatever is on the face of this earth as an adornment for the earth, so that we can test the people to see whom amongst them is the best in as far as the deeds and the actions are concerned. So Allah Ta'ala has created it for a test. We have to pass that test by utilizing the worldly assets for our daily necessities, and to utilize it to deposit for the akhirat. Ad-dunya mazra'atul akhirah. This world is a tilth. It is a cultivating land. Here we have to sow and we reap in the akhirat. This is very, very important to understand and to realize that here we have to work, deposit deeds for the akhirat that will attract the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that will draw the mercy and the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There was a saintly personality by the name of Bahlul. He was very widely traveled. On one of his journeys, he walked through a certain town, and in the marketplace he noticed some children, young boys, youth, that were playing some sport, a little game, and the game was being played with almonds. Almonds that were still in the outer shells, in the hard shell. They were throwing it at one another, catching some sort of a game. So he stood there and observed for a while. Then he noticed in one corner a child of a mere 10 or 11 years old, looking very, very distressed, looking sad, lonely and forlorn. He went up to the child thinking that perhaps this young child does not have almonds. Maybe his parents cannot afford to buy these almonds for him so that he can also join in the sport. So he went up to the child and asked him that, can I make an offer to purchase some almonds for you so that you can utilize them, join these other boys and play in fun? So look at the reply he gave. He replied reciting a verse of the Holy Quran where Allah Ta'ala says, أَفَحَسِبْتُمْ أَنَّمَا خَلَقْنَاكُمْ عَبَثًا وَأَنَّكُمْ إِلَيْنَا لَا تُرْجَعُونَ. Do you think that we have created you for no purpose whatsoever, and that you will not return to us for accountability, for retribution? There is a definite purpose of our life. We have not been created for no purpose whatsoever. Thus Bahlul was very taken aback and impressed with the integrity, with the piety of this young child. But then he advised him that you are only a little child. You have not even attained puberty. Why do you cry so much out of fear of Allah? Because he began to cry as he recited these verses. Tears were streaming down his cheeks. So Bahlul asked him, why are you so emotional? Why do you have so much fear? So he replied that I have read in the Quran, Allah Ta'ala says, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu qu anfusakum wa ahlikum nara wa quduha an-nasu wal hijara. That all those who believe, save yourselves and your families from the fire of Jahannam, from such a fire, the fuel of which will be mankind and stones. Stones referring to the idols, stone idols that people worship, that will be used to stoke the fire of Jahannam. And those who worship these idols, mankind will also be used to stoke and intensify the fire of Jahannam. So the child says, when I look at my mother lighting the fire at home in order to cook the food, she first places the little twigs in order to ignite that fire, and then she puts in the bigger logs. So I fear that lest this should not happen, that in the akhirat Allah Ta'ala uses us children like those little twigs, and thereafter He throws in adults. This was a young man, a child, that obviously knew, recognized the purpose of his creation, and used his youth profitably to develop for the akhirat. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu ta'ala on one journey, traveling through the hot desert sun in the Arabian Peninsula, and he had a few companions with him. They stopped over at a certain place to partake of the meal that they had brought along with them. It was not the month of Ramadan also. under the hot, sweltering heat. They found a little corner where there was a date palm tree. They sat down in the shade of the tree and began to consume their meal. Then Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh noticed in a distance a young shepherd tending to his herd of goats under the hot sun beating down upon him. So he said to one of his companions, "Go and call that young man, let him also join us in this meal." So the companion went and called the young man. Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh said to him, "Sit down with us and join us to partake of this meal." So the young man replied, "Look at these people that utilize their youth fruitfully." He said that, "No, uncle, I cannot eat today because I am fasting." Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh was surprised. He said to him that you are fasting in the middle of the desert. It is not even the month of Ramadan. It is not an auspicious day, neither is it the 9th or 10th of Muharram, neither it is a day of Arafat, an ordinary day. And you are torturing yourself fasting out here in the desert. So he replied that I am utilizing my ayyam khaliyah. In other words, referring to the verse of the Quran, when people will enter Jannat, Allah Ta'ala inshallah grant us all enter into Jannat without reckoning inshallah. Dukhul awwali inshallah. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will announce to the people of Jannat, Kulu washrabu hani'am bima aslaftum fil ayyamil khaliyah. That eat, drink, and enjoy, make merry. This is in lieu of the effort that you put in the past life. That you use your youth profitably, depositing for the akhirat. Today you can enjoy all the bounties of Jannat. So he says, I'm utilizing the days of my life profitably. Abdullah bin Umar became very impressed with this young man, and he decided to put his taqwa, his piety to the test. He said to the young man, you have so many goats in this herd that you are tending to. Give us one of the goats. We will slaughter it, skin it, cook the meat. We can also eat, you can also eat. So the young man said, these goats do not belong to me. I am merely tending to the herd of goats that belong to my master. I am also the slave of my master. These goats also belong to my master. It is not possible for me to give you even one goat out of this herd. So Abdullah bin Umar radiallahu anh said to him, that your master will be none the wiser. Does he count the goats when you return in the evening after grazing them? He says no. So when he does not count them, and there are perhaps 70 or 80 goats here, he will not count every single one. If one goat is missing, he will not even realize that. Or even if he notices that a certain goat is missing, he will put two and two together, that perhaps in the jungle, in a desert, a wolf or some animal devoured a goat, or perhaps the goat got cut off from the herd, it lost its way. He will not take you to task. So you have nothing to worry about. So immediately the young man retorted by saying, فَأَيْنَ اللَّهِ, that where is Allah Ta'ala? My master may not know, but Allah Ta'ala is omnipresent. Allah is hadir and nadir. Inna Allah kana alaykum raqiba. Allah is watchful over you. If you commit a sin even behind closed doors, thinking no one is looking, no one is watching, Allah is watching all the time. Alam ya'lam bi anna Allah yara. Does man not know that Allah Ta'ala is watching over him? Every deed is recorded. Every deed will be brought forward on the day of Qiyamah and put before a person. He will have to answer and be taken to task for every sin that was committed, whether in public, whether in solitude, whether in front of people, whether behind closed doors. Everything has to be answered for in the Akhirat. So these young people utilize their youth fruitfully. Today, unfortunately, in our youthful years, we are basically losing our battle against the enemies of Islam. We are being taken in hook, line and sinker and being trapped into the ploys of the enemies of Islam. Today the enemies of Islam are snickering, laughing behind our backs, that you Muslims thought that we Christians, perhaps we ring the bell on a Sunday, we have the church piano, we have music in our churches. You are very smug and very proud, claiming that in your house of worship, in the masjid, you will not hear the sound of musical notes. You are smug and very confident that there will be no video clips, no TV in your masjids. The enemies of Islam have brought music into our masjids. First and foremost, we ought to switch off our cell phones when we come to the masjid. If perchance it is left on, why not use a simple ringtone? Must it be a ringtone that complies with the most recent Bollywood hit or the Hollywood hit or a pop song? Unfortunately, this is our condition. And we allow music to play in the house of Allah. We have to cry tears of blood today in front of the Kaabatullah while people are making tawaf. Music is playing around the greatest house of Allah. Enemies of Islam are saying, we have brought TV into your pockets that you bring into the house of Allah. Youth sitting in corners of the masjid, watching video clips on their telephones, on their cell phones. Is this not TV brought into the masjid? Is this not trampling upon the sanctity of the masjid? The enemies of Islam are laughing at us. And you are playing into the hands hook, line and sinker. The masjid is not a place for such obscenities. It is not a place for music. It is not a place for video clips. Not a place for TV. It is a place where we go into solitude and communicate with our Creator. Forget the distractions of the world. Put it aside and focus towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, we are losing out and washing our sunnah culture down the drain, the beautiful life taught to us by Nabi Kareem Sallallahu, and adopting the ways of the enemies of Islam. This is truly unfortunate. Before it is too late, we have to open our eyes and take cognizance of this. Signs of Qiyamah that were promised by Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle fitting into piece one by one. Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, among the signs of Qiyamah, أن تلد الأمة ربتها, that a woman will give birth to her master. How can a woman give birth to her master? The child is always subordinate, subservient to the mother, to the parents. But Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, among the interpretations of this sentence, one meaning is that a time will come when children, youth will become disobedient to their parents. And that we are seeing today, like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle fitting into place one after the other. Today, the time has dawned upon us that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has warned about in the hadith, that a time will come when a young man, a teenager, will walk through a marketplace past his friends with his father, elderly father, walking along with the son. The friends will ask him, who is this gentleman? Who is this old buddy walking with you? Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, that child, that young man will feel too embarrassed to say, this is my father. He will say that this is just some old man that is tagging along, walking alongside me. A child should feel proud, honored to have parents, but yet he will feel shy, embarrassed to say that this is my father. Today, young men get married and they forget the rights of their mothers. The young man is earning today. He's got married. Allah has blessed him with a beautiful wife. He loses his father. The mother is now like a stranger. She has to go from pillar to post, sometimes staying at the home of this son, sometimes at the home of that son, sometimes at the home of the third son. And each son makes the mother totally unwelcome. What do they say to their mothers today? Something that is food for thought. They say that, listen, in this house, what my wife says goes. This is her domain. She will dictate terms, not you, oh my mother. Is this how we respect our mothers? Make them feel unwelcome in our homes. Whereas the mother is that woman with regard to which Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, إِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ تَحْتَ أَقْدَامِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ. Jannat lies beneath the feet of your mothers. Serve them and earn Jannat. During the farewell pilgrimage, Hajjatul Wada, a young man who had an old and frail, ailing father, He brought him all the way from Yemen for Hajj, to join Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam during the Hajj. And he traveled from so far, assisting his father, serving his father. When he came to the Mataf, in those days obviously there were no wheelchairs like we have today. In order to allow his father to complete his tawaf, he carried his father on his back. Or rather, it was not his father, it was his mother. We are talking about mothers. It was his mother, old and aged mother. He carried her on his back and allowed her to make tawaf of the Kaabatullah. Thereafter the Sahabi goes to Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and explains that, O Rasul of Allah, today Allah Ta'ala blessed me to serve my mother in this way, that I carried her all the way from Yemen with great difficulty. Putting her on my back, I allowed her to make 7 circuits of the Kaabatullah. I completed the tawaf. Tell me, O Rasul of Allah, have I fulfilled the right of my mother? Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells him, listen, young man, you have not even fulfilled the right of a single drop of milk that your mother breastfed you with. Even that you have not managed to fulfill. And yet this is the way that we behave towards our mothers. Sometimes a person loses a mother. The father is left behind. And the father needs to come and stay with his son because the son owns a beautiful home, huge mansion, a palatial home. There was an incident in South Africa, where I come from. My very ustaz who is here in your country at the moment, Mufti Ahmad Sahib Khanpuri, Damal Barakatuhum, may Allah Ta'ala keep his shadow over us. He was there, a friend of mine who lost his mother, and he brought his father into his home to live with him. So he mentioned to us, Mufti Ahmad Sahib Khanpuri, Damal Barakatuhum, that Hazrat, my father is living with me. So our ustaz, Hazrat, corrected him immediately. Just a way of rephrasing it. Hazrat said to him, even though you may have paid for that house, the house may belong to you. Why do you say that your father is living with you? Rather say that you are living with your father. Because the amount of effort he made, he educated you, he sent you through high school, through college, through university. Today you have become a medical doctor. Today you are a chartered accountant. You are earning in the thousands. You have put up this palatial home. But who was the means of all this coming up? Your father. He educated you. In the cold winter months, your parents dressed you, sent you to school. There were certain parents that were perhaps not educated as advanced as you are. In order to pay for education, they had that little retail store on the corner. Some of them braved the winter months, stood outside on the pavements to sell their merchandise in order to send you to university and college. And today you are saying that your father is staying with you. Rather say that you are staying with your father. The hadith tells us, أَنْتَ وَمَالُكَ لِأَبِيكَ لِوَالِدِكَ. You and your wealth belong to your father. He was responsible for having brought you to this stage. And now today you become high and mighty. You make your father feel unwelcome in that home. You make your mother feel unwelcome. This sign of Qiyamah, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has prophesied, and we see it taking place today. Nevertheless, it is time out for adhan too. There are a few more points to stress. I've run out of time, but maybe this is sufficient. Sometimes little also, when it is of a minute quantity, we are able to digest it better. We take a lesson back with us. Let us not play into the hands of the enemies of Islam, hook, line and sinker. Let us observe the sunnahs, the teachings of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and live a life that pleases Allah Subhanahu Wa Ta'ala. Let us use our youth. People like Usama bin Zayd radiallahu ta'ala made the commander-in-chief of an army. Beneath him were senior Sahaba like Umar Farooq radiallahu ta'ala. And he was a mere lad of 16 or 17 years old. He put his youth to good use. Anas bin Malik radiallahu ta'ala, at the tender age of 10, he served Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and served him until the age of 20, until the demise of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, till he was 20 years old. And he got the du'as of Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Nabi Sallallahu gave him dua, Allahumma barik lahu fi malihi wa awladihi. That Allah grant barakah, blessings in his sustenance and his children. This dua was accepted to the extent that everyone else's fruit orchards only yield fruit once a year during the season. But his fruit orchards used to yield fruit twice a year. So much barakat. And the blessing in his children was such that Allah Ta'ala granted him a long life. He reached an age of close to 100 or over 100. Allah Ta'ala blessed him with so many children that by the time he reached that age, he went through many wives that passed away. Allah Ta'ala granted him such blessings and barakat in his children. During the reign of Hajjaj bin Yusuf, he lost 120 of his own children whom he buried with his own hands. So you can imagine how many more children he had. This is the barakat of a person utilizing his youth fruitfully for the pleasure of Allah. Imam Muhammad rahmatullah alayhi, he had merely gone into the stage of puberty, and he came to Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi's ustaz and wanted to seek admission in the fiqh school of Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah alayhi. So Imam Sahib asked him, "Are you a hafiz of the Holy Quran?" He replied, "No." So Imam Sahib said to Imam Muhammad rahmatullah alayhi that in order to become my student, to be admitted in my madrasa, my condition is that the student must have memorized the entire Quran. Because in those days, these were mujtahideen. They had the ability to extract laws directly from the Quran and Hadith. If they are not hafiz the Quran, hafiz the Hadith, how will they extract the laws? So Imam Muhammad was so determined, so eager to come into that madrasa. He went away. Allah Ta'ala blessed him. He returned after a week, after a mere 7 days. And he said to Imam Abu Hanifa, "Now I have committed the entire Quran to memory. You can test me." Imam Sahib tested him from various places and had memorized the entire Quran. So these were people that utilize the youth fruitfully. So it's my appeal, especially to the youth, let us become soldiers of Islam. Let us become vanguards of Islam. Let us become beacons of the light of Hidayat for our future generations, so that we can make our parents proud of ourselves. On the day of Qiyamah, they can say that this was my son, this was my daughter, that served Deenul Islam and that brought Deenul Islam once again to prosperity and to those days of might and glory. A time for the parents to be proud of us. Unlike the situation where we are disobedient, then يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ. Even the parents will run away from such children. These children, because of their rotten actions, they want to take our good deeds away, so let us rather run away. Those parents will be embarrassed with us, embarrassed of the type of life that we led. Let it not come to that stage. Before that time comes, before death approaches, let us utilize this capital of life profitably. Allah Ta'ala takes the oath of time, wal asr, that by the oath of time, all of mankind is at loss, with the exception of people who possess 4 qualities. إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, they have iman, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, they do righteous deeds, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and they exhort one another to the truth, to the true religion, Deen Islam, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and practicing Deenul Islam, it is something that is difficult, it may have a strain on one's life, but they exhort one another to exercise patience. These people will be successful, they will not be at loss. Allah Ta'ala inshallah make us among the successful ones. Wa akhiru da'wana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya. Allahumma ya hannan ya mannan ya badi'a as-samawati wal ard wa ya dhal jalali wal ikram. Ya hayy ya qayyum bi rahmatika nastaghith aslih lana sha'nana kullah wa la takilna ila anfusina tarfata 'ain fa innaka in takilna ila anfusina takilna ila dha'fi wa 'awratin wa dhanbin wa khatiyyah. اللهم حبب إلينا الإيمان وزينه في قلوبنا وكره إلينا الكفر والفسوق والعصيان واجعلنا من الراشدين واجعلنا من الصالحين واجعلنا من المهتدين واجعلنا من المتطهرين واجعلنا من الداعين واجعلنا من الذين يأمرون بالمعروف وينهون عن المنكر واجعلنا من الذين لا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من سخطك وغضبك والنار. اللهم إنا نسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا حلالا طيبا وشفاء من كل داء. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك من نبيك وعبدك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، ونعوذ بك من كل شر ما استعاذك من نبيك وعبدك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم، وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ، ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين، بفضل سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون، وسلام على المرسلين، والحمد لله رب العالمين.